So as somebody that's primarily a fan of the Borderlands franchise for the gameplay, the build crafting, and the item chase, I think Borderlands 4 is looking to be an incredible game. And I think one of the biggest elements of this that has me super excited is the overall movement options in Borderlands 4. And I think we got a glimpse at a good handful of these new movement options in the latest Borderlands 4 trailer, and that's what I want to go over in this video. And keep in mind that a majority of the movement options from previous Borderlands games are still going to exist in Borderlands 4. We're just getting a ton of new options on top of that. So especially things like mantling or sliding are still going to exist. Now to start off the trailer, we have the player character doing a slide, killing some enemies, and then doing something that's pretty interesting, especially when you go back and look at it multiple times. This character uses their action ability, so it looks to be the really bulky character whose action ability is to bring out two of these elemental axes that seems they can throw one at a time. But what's really interesting about this part of the trailer is this jump of this character is quite high, and it looks like they're kind of floating or keeping themselves in the air a bit longer than a normal jump would be. Now it's hard to tell if this is a double jump. We pretty much already know that double jumps are going to be in the game, but it's really hard to tell here. If this is a double jump, this is a very smooth double jump, but again, it also looks like they're kind of floating a bit, so they're not falling as fast as you would normally expect. And this just shows kind of how much air you can get just from jumping up off the ground, because this person jumps super high, pretty much high enough to go on this ledge that this enemy is at. And another small part of the trailer I want to look at is when one of the characters throws two Tediore weapons with one throw. The reason I want to look at this is because this character is also super high in the air. This looks to be the height of a double jump. We do get to see some characters just do a normal jump within the trailer, and this character is super high in the air. So this again looks to be a double jump. Double jump seems to give you pretty crazy height off the ground, which I also want to look at because he's specifically throwing Tediore weapons. And one of the big issues with Tediore weapons and other weapons with really big explosive areas is you can commonly down yourself because you'll just end up doing so much damage with them that you down yourself easily. But having a double jump and also having the ability to make yourself fall more slowly can be incredibly strong for using any explosives, because it just puts a lot more distance between you and the enemies. And I do also think shooting explosives from higher up is generally more easy as well. In this next section, we get to see what looks to be a much more defined double jump because they're on a ledge against a really big enemy here. And then they jump away from them once and then do another double jump that's pretty clear. So they give themselves a good amount of time between the double jumps. And I think this also ties back into the first clip we went over, because this one here, you're able to see them very clearly have a good amount of time between the second jump. But the first clip looked like they did both of the jumps back to back. That's why it looks so smooth. So there seems to be a pretty forgiving time that allows you to hit that second double jump. It may actually be just the entirety of the time that you're in the air. So before you touch anything else with your feet, you're able to hit that double jump. And then right after that clip of the defined double jump, he jumps into the water and we get to see the reveal of swimming being added in Borderlands 4. Now this is another movement mechanic, so this could help with different areas, but we don't know how this is actually going to be used. We don't know if this is just kind of another element to add a bit more play space. You can swim through areas so it feels like a much more open, realistic world where you don't just die when you jump into water, or if this is actually going to have some other gameplay elements tied into it. The swimming does look like it's decently fast, so it could be decent for movement, but we'll have to just wait and see. Now this next clip is one of the best illustrations of how crazy movement is going to be in Borderlands 4. So first off, this character starts with grappling to an area. We already knew grappling and grappling hooks are going to be in the game. This looks to be to another grappling spot specifically, so it does seem like you're going to have to be grappling to specific locations. Now we're not 100% sure on that, but pretty much all the grapples we've seen have been to specific areas that look like it's a grappling location, which kind of makes sense because because once you see these clips and see the crazy movement you can do, it makes sense you can't just do this everywhere. You would pretty much never be not flying through the air. But after this person grapples, they get a ton of momentum in the air. So they're moving very quickly and they're shooting down on enemies while flying through the air. Then they hit another double jump, and they might also be using another mechanic that allows them to stay in the air longer, because we've gotten some information indicating that there's going to be obviously a double jump, which we've seen, but it also sounds like there's going to be mid-air dashing, which I'm not exactly sure how that plays into double jumping. I'm not sure if they're considering the second jump of a double jump to be that dashing, or if dashing is going to be something different, and if kind of floating down is also going to be something different. We're not exactly sure how all of these different elements are going to play into each other, but suffice it to say that we are going to have a lot of movement options, and grappling is going to allow you to just fly through the air and do some crazy things. Now, the second of the craziest movement we saw in this trailer is this player using a rocket launcher and looking to be floating through the air pretty quickly. This person gets a lot of hang time and stays in the air for quite a long time, and we don't know what this character did before this point, but it looks like you'll absolutely be able to slow fall yourself pretty consistently and also keep a lot of movement while you're doing that, because this person goes a pretty long distance without losing much of their height and just floating through the air, while again using another explosive weapon, using the rocket launcher, which, as I mentioned earlier in the video, this new vertical movement is going to be very good for explosive weapons like rocket launchers. But that's pretty much all of the new movement elements we got to see with the most recent Borderlands 4 trailer. And this is something I am super excited for. Going from Borderlands 2 into Borderlands 3 added a ton of new movement options, especially something like mantling was absolutely crazy. When you go back to Borderlands 2, things like sliding and mantling feels really hard to play without. And it's probably going to be the same way going from 3 to 4 with all of these crazy movement options. You're really going to be able to have a lot more movement and skill expression in Borderlands 4, because somebody that's going to be really good at using all of these different movement elements are just going to be better at the base gameplay of Borderlands 4. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.